have to imagine that I'm an old man. You see, long time ago, when I was a little lad, I was probably about 12 or so. I used to watch the ships coming into the harbour, the big tall ships with the huge sails. Oh, it was wonderful. I used to love watching the ships come in. See, there's all these different people from all over the world. All sorts of different people with different colours, different cultures, different clothes, different voices, different accents, different languages. I used to love going down on the docks. And as I got older, I decided that I wanted to be a sailor. Me and my friends, we'd sit up on the cliff tops and watch the ships come in. And sometimes we'd go into the cove around the corner, around from the harbour. Nobody used to go there. And we used to sit there and we would pretend that we were stranded on an island. You know, we'd have like an apple in our pockets and we would practice slicing the apples so thin that you could see through them. That's how thin the slices were, because if we were ever stranded on a desert island, we needed to know how to make the food last as long as possible. And by cutting those apples into thin slices was a good way to start, don't you think? Right. So we would practice there and do all these things, but of course the apples never lasted long, because you have one of those wafer thin slices and it's like, oh, I want another one, pop, 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 and the apple would soon be gone. But on my 14th birthday, I decided I was going to sign up. And I went down and I signed up to join this ship. Now the problem was, my mum said, you don't want to sign up on this ship, but they wanted me. So I was going to be a cabin boy. Now the cabin boy, he looks after the skipper, right, the captain. He does whatever the captain wants you to do. What I didn't know, I found out pretty quick, was this captain, he was a pirate. And this captain, he had a ship full of pirates. We'd set sail and I waved goodbye to my family on the docks, you know, and there we were gone. Then I found out this captain was a mean man. He had me polish his boots. They weren't as fancy as those. They were black boots and they came up to here. And he'd say, polish me boots! Now, you know, nowadays I got all these brushes and everything, but I get this polish and I'd spit on the boots and rub it and spit on the boots and rub it until I could see my teeth reflected in them. You should try it. Just on the toes. Spit and polish. And he'd say, those boots, they're not shiny enough, polish them again. And he'd belt me around the ear, make my ears ring. He was a mean man. And then, of course, I'd have to set the table for the meals and everything, for the captain and the first mate. And I get the knives and forks all sorted out, the spoons and everything. They call it silver service. Lots of forks, lots of knives, you have to have them all in the right order. Then I'd set the plates and everything. And he'd say, those forks are too close together, the knives aren't far enough apart, and bam, he'd slap me around the head and give me a headache. He was a mean man. Well, one day, we were sailing, and he said to me, make sure we got lots of food. The kobolds on board. I was like, what the heck's a kobold? I had no idea. But if he said, get lots of food for tonight's meal, and there was going to be a visitor, I thought, well, I better tell the cook. So I went and told the cook. The cook, he was a good man. He became my friend, he did. He was a nice man. He always made sure I got a little bit of extra. You know, because normally, cabin boys like me, we'd have to clear the table of the captain, and then I'd eat whatever was left. Sometimes it wasn't very much. Cook he always looked after me, always made sure there was a couple of extra macaroons just for me. Well, I told the cook we were having this kobold on board. He said, oh, I will make sure that there is plenty of food. We always have to have plenty of food. I was like, all right, that's fine, it's brilliant. So anyway, that night I was like, where's this kobold coming from? We've been out for like a month. We hadn't seen any ships about. We hadn't seen any, you know, we hadn't been to port. There was nobody around. I wasn't going to question the orders. I brought all the food in, I got the table set up. You know, and then I'd have this little spot. The table would be over there, and I'd have this little bench to sit on. I'd sit there like this. I'd keep myself nice and quiet with my head bowed down, waiting for the captain to give me an order. Right? The captain said, pour the wine, boy. So I went over and I poured the wine. 2 glasses and set the bottle down. And I sat down in my spot. And the captain, he says, what do you think of the crew? I was surprised. I looked up. It's like he's never talked to me before. Not nicely, not asking my opinion of anything. And I said, well, I like all of them, I said, sir, but I like the cook especially. And he's like, I wasn't talking to you, boy. I was like, well, who else is he talking to? There's nobody else here. And then he said, get out! So I went outside. Now his cabin, you know, in those days you could slide the cabin doors wide open, they would fold back in case he needed to have a meeting. And he'd still have his cabin there and his charts and everything. But when they were closed, there were these glass doors, but they were kind of like at the doctors, can't quite see through them. They're frosted glass, right? But you could see some of the shapes and everything through it. And I peered through, I was like, what is he talking about? He said he's talking to me, and then I heard him ask the same question again. Who's his, you know, does he like the crew? There was nobody else in the room. And the wine glass lifted itself up. I could see it because it was red wine. And it started to tilt. And as I peered through the glass, none of it poured out. And then I heard this voice. And the voice said, I like the crew. I especially like the cabin boy. Look after him better. I was like, flipping heck! There's nobody else in there, I thought to myself. I was so scared, I thought it was like a ghost, so I ran down to the cook and I was like, cook, what's going on? There's this voice in there and there's nobody else in there, it's just the captain, and the captain, he asked me a question, except he wasn't asking me the question. And he says, calm down, it's okay. He says, you said the cupboard doesn't, but it's a cupboard. What's a cupboard? I said, I have no idea. And he told me what a cupboard was. Now, where I come from, you know, we have like these little helpers, these little spirits. You know, have you ever heard of a tomkin? No, tomkins you've heard of a tomkin, right? Well, tomkins, they're Scandinavian. They're these little helpers. You know, if you have a workshop, maybe your dad's a carpenter or something, right? Well, the little kobolds, they're the same thing. The kobolds and the tomkins, they'll make sure all your tools are kept nice and sharp. If you have a bakery, right, they'll make sure that the flour's kept up off the floor. Make sure that the mice don't come in. You know, they're helpful spirits. For the kobold of the sea, ooh, the cookie told me they are very special kobolds. They are dangerous kobolds. You know, if you keep on the right side of them, they're good people to have around. Yes! They're kind of strange looking from what I have heard. I have never seen one, nor do I want to see one. You see, if you see one, it means your time has come. You know, yeah. Not a good thing to see a kobold. But I have heard they have orange spiky hair that sticks up. They look like pineapples. Very strange. Yeah. Their bodies aren't like pineapples. They're just like normal people. But they dress in bright colours. I don't want to see one. Never. No. But the kobold, he only sees to the people before they die. Anyway, the kobold. You know, if you're good to him, of the sea, he'll give you beautiful breezes and nice winds that will keep you there. The sun will be out, it'll be a good trip, and you'll get to where you want to get in good time. Oh, but if you don't listen to the kobold, if you don't do what the kobold suggests, oh, he can create storms that'll crush the ship, as if it were made of matchsticks. Now, the captain, he has a slight problem with you. You should go back up and wait for him in case he has any orders. So I did. I went back upstairs and I sat down in the spot and I waited. And I could hear the captain talking to this ghostly voice behind the doors. Well, the captain called me in when supper was over and I cleared everything away. Oh, there was some mashed potatoes left. I love mashed potatoes. Yeah, and some cheese, grated cheese you could sprinkle on the top. Of course, it had gone a bit cold, so it didn't melt into potatoes. But never mind, it was still good food. Well, days went by, and you know what? The captain, he'd been told by the kobold to treat me nicer. And most of the time he did after that. But once in a while he might belt me around the head for not shining his shoes nice enough, or maybe I hadn't picked up one particular corner of the cabin because I got too busy doing something else, and he boxed my ears, right? Well, the next day, something would happen to the captain. A rope might get caught on his boot and he'd fall flat on his face. Or some of the rigging might come free and belt him on the head. I had a little chuckle there, and oh yeah, I did. Well, one day there we were sailing, And Smith up on the main mast, up at the top in the crow's nest, he called out, "Oh, ship, ship, ahoy!" Well, the captain, he came up and he got his spyglass out and he's looking out. And the captain, he says, "It is a trader ship. Man the guns, sharpen your swords."
Yeah.
And that's what they did. The whole crew came to life. They got our big cannons on the sides and they pulled them out and they shoved powder down them. They shoved the big balls down them, the big shot, the cannon shot. They all got ready. They sharpened up their blades even sharper than they already was. But I was standing next to the captain at that point, and I heard this voice whispering to the captain in his ear. And the voice said, "It's not a merchant ship. It's a ghost ship. Turn around." I looked at the captain, waiting to hear his orders. Does he say anything? No, he doesn't. He looks through the spyglass again. He says, "Steady as she goes, men. Steady as she goes." And I heard the voice. It says, "Turn around. It's a ghost ship." I'm looking up at the captain, thinking, "Come on, sir. Give the command. Turn around." But he never did. "Steady as she goes, men." And this ship is coming on us fast. And we're getting closer to it. And then we swing around to give it broadside, when our cannons are going to face the other ship. And the captain, he said, "Fire!" One of the cannons fired off. We could see the shot flying through the air towards that other ship that was getting closer and closer. And it should have hit one of the masts. It looked like it did hit a mast. It looked like it went straight through the sail. But not a mark was left on it. It looked as if nothing had touched it.
That's because it's a ghost.
That's right, that's what I thought. And I said, "Sir," he says, "Quiet, boy. Fire again." We saw the cannon fire its shot, and the shot's flying towards the side of the boat. Does it hit it? Yes. Does it put a hole in it? No. And then here's this voice that says again, "Turn around. This is your last warning." But the captain, he set fire again. And it shot off. And we just saw that boat turn around and start sailing towards our sides. And then this mist started to come down. And I heard this horrible scream. It was the captain saying, "No! No, it is the kobold! I see him!" And then I hear this voice in my ear. "Flee the boat, boy. Flee the boat." I didn't need to be told twice. Well, I thought, I like the cook, I'll go and grab him quick. I need provisions, we're in the middle of nowhere. And I ran down, I was like, Cook, we've got to get some food and get off this ship right quick. So he said, why? How do we need to get off the ship? Why are we going to get off the ship? He says, "The kobold," it whispered in my ear. "The kobold told you to do this." And then we got. He grabbed some of the food, he got a big cask of water, and we ran over to one of our lifeboats and we lowered it down. And just as our little boat hit the water and started to separate from the main boat, we heard the worst sound you could ever hear as a sailor. The sound of wood splintering, two ships colliding. Why we couldn't knock down that ghost ship, I don't know why. Because it hit our ship as if it was a real one. Cook and I, we heard screams. We heard shouts. We rode through the mist following the sound of voices. But every time when we thought we got close to a voice, it stopped. Voice after voice we tried to find, but there were no bodies. And when the mist blew away, we looked around, and it was as if nothing had happened, except our ship wasn't there, not even any wreckage. We kept chickens in crates, and we thought they'd be floating on the surface. We thought there'd be bits of wood floating around, but it was as if everything had been sucked down under the water. There wasn't a sign of life anywhere. Luckily we had a bit of food, and we had that cask of water that I told you about. Well, we were picked up by a naval ship. Can't tell the Navy that we were from a pirate ship, so we didn't. We just said our ship was sunk in a storm, and we were the only two that were lucky enough to get away. They separated us and asked us separate questions, but I swear it's true. They didn't believe us. They thought the sun had got to us and made us a bit crazy, a bit nutty. But if you ever meet the cook, you'll know him. He's a big round fella. His nose is a little bit wibbly wobbly on the end and slightly crooked, and he talks in that voice that I just used. If you see him, ask him. He'll tell you it's true too, because we were there together. The end.